Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Monday, October 28th, and today we are starting Ezekiel 19. I'm going to be telling you all week and a little bit of next week. Make sure you get out there and vote before we dive into this message. Okay, so we are in Ezekiel 19, and this is a lamentation. So a lamentation is kind of like a poem. It's kind of like an analogy. It's kind of all wrapped up together as one. Well, this is definitely an analogy, and it starts off with comparing royalty to lions. And then it goes back into comparing that society to a vine, which we've talked about back in Ezekiel 15, if you want to go back to those videos. But I found some very interesting things. So let's jump right into it. A lament for the princes of Israel. And you take up a lamentation for the princes of Israel and say, what was your mother? A lioness. Among lions she crouched, and in the midst of young lions she reared her cubs. And she brought up one of her cubs. He became a young lion, and he learned to catch prey and devour men. All right, so in the Fire Study Bible, it said that this lion refers to King Jehoahaz, who reigned for 3 months. Then he was taken captive to Egypt, and that's where he died. Okay, so King Jehoahaz is represented by this lion. And one of the things that I found in the Cultural Study Bible is that the rulers of Israel and Judah were often presented as a lion. A lion was a common symbol for royalty in the ancient Near East. Then we get to verse 4, and it says, the nations heard about him. He was caught in their pit, and they brought him with hooks to the land of Egypt. So I got interested in what the words mean in pit and hooks. So pit means, it can mean a trap, but it can also mean destruction. And the pictograph is a picture of teeth representing their sharpness and the picture of a wall. So what this means is sharp walls. I immediately thought of barbed wire. It's a wall that you can't get over. It's a pit that's dug in the ground, and it's just for that purpose of trapping that lion, which represents the royalty, King Jehoahaz. Then I looked at hooks, and that Hebrew word is hak, and the definition is a ring or a hook in the nose. So that is a picture of a wall, and the wall around crops or livestock was constructed of thistles or rocks and laid on top. Again, I'm thinking of barbed wire. So this lion is caught and trapped in their own destruction and led to Egypt with a hook or ring that penetrates the flesh. The flesh leads us into sin. So immediately I'm thinking about, okay, so the flesh led them into sin. Their flesh is being penetrated so that they can be led off into exile. Well, that brought me to Romans 8, verses 1 through 4, which says, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. For the law of the Spirit of life has set you free in Christ Jesus from the law of sin and death. For God has done what the law, weakened by the flesh, could not do. By sending his Son in the likeness of sinful flesh for sin, he condemned sin in the flesh in order that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. So as we continue on, the fact that they were trapped in their pit, one of the things I found in the Cultural Study Bible is that lion hunting was very popular among royalty. And what they would do is when they caught the lion, they would put it in a pit, and this is so vicious, and then they would set it on fire to kill the lion. They did it just for the sake of killing him. Well, immediately I thought of the parallel of Joseph being put in a pit. And Joseph was not living an unrighteous life as these people in Israel and Judah were, but Joseph was also put in a pit, and he was initially left to die by his brothers until Judah said, let's sell him into slavery. And you can find those passages in Genesis 37, verses 18 to 28. So in Genesis, Joseph was trapped in a pit in order to protect God's people from an upcoming famine. In Romans 8, Jesus is sent to redeem the people. Left to our own devices, we are trapped in our own fleshly desires. But God, despite those devices, God draws us to him and redeems us through Christ's work on the cross. Now think about that. When he's drawing us to him, sometimes it's a very painful experience. It was a painful experience for Joseph to be thrown into that pit and become a slave. It was painful for King Jehoahaz to be thrown into this pit and exiled to Babylon. But God does what God needs to do to draw his people back to him. And they needed to be broken down. They needed to be put in their place. It was part of his sovereignty, part of his grace, and part of his love that he does that for his people. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.